Hey guys, Fanboy here, back with another video as promised. So today is going to be the inaugural episode of a segment that I'm going to call Ellen's Pick. It's a segment where I'm going to review any movie that Ellen, my wife, has selected. Let's see what I'm going to review tonight. Moulin Rouge. Oh boy. Wasn't that crappy musical from 2011? Let's take a look. Nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actress, Roger Ebert gave it a 3.5 out of 4 stars. IGN gave it a 9.0. It's got a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than Forrest Gump, one of my favorite movies, The Rock, another one of my favorite movies, The Avengers Age of Ultron, the Tim Burton Batman, another one of my favorite movies, Kingsman: The Secret Service, one of my favorite movies to come out this year, Maverick, Training Day, the movie that won Denzel Washington an Oscar, Tombstone, A Beautiful Mind, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, that's a classic, Mission Impossible 3, Interstellar, Shutter Island, Point Break, Rocky 2, Taken, and Mrs. Doubtfire? Oh my heck, maybe I was all wrong. This movie might be incredible! What the hell was that? Seriously, I think I just spent the last 2.5 hours witnessing a fever dream. Did I take LSD at some point? Seriously, this movie got a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than Forrest Gump. I only have one thing to say to Rotten Tomatoes. And I want this to be family friendly, so insert expletive here. Okay. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I hated this movie. Hated this movie. Now, I also acknowledge that I'm probably not the target audience for this movie. This movie is also very, very well beloved. So maybe it's just me, so anybody who's going to say that I didn't get it, you might be right, because this movie is all about being an artiste, and maybe this art just wasn't my style. But, that being said, I really want to go over the positives of this movie first, because I don't believe that any movie is 100% terrible. Okay, so, there were about 5 things in this movie that I can point to that I thought really, really worked. First off, there were 2 characters in this movie that I really liked. First off was the unconscious Argentinian guy who was played by, and I'm hoping I'm saying this right, you can see me looking down at my notes, because Jacek Koman, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Alright, this guy was the narcoleptic Argentinian. This guy was awesome, okay? Every time this guy talked, he clearly looked like he was having fun. He commanded a lot of attention when he was on screen, okay? The second thing, the second person that I really, really loved was Deboya Obari. Again, I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. I am probably butchering these two's names. And he is credited on IMDb as Le Chocolate, which is going to go into another huge problem I had with this movie. I feel completely racist with that name. However, this was a guy who played the big black guy who is always kind of looking out for Satine throughout the movie. I kind of viewed him as he is the unsung hero of this movie. And he was just a badass. There's no other way of putting it. This guy was awesome, you know. He catches Satine when she faints off of the trapeze and carries her backstage, and then immediately comes back and joins the party. Plus, this is an actor who can wear what looks like a circus performer singlet and a top hat, which would look ridiculous being worn by anybody else, and yet that guy made it look awesome. And there was a scene, okay, there was one moment in this movie which I actually kind of did like a fist pump, like, yeah. And that was, there's a scene later in the movie when the Duke is about to, I don't know if he's about to beat Satine, kill her, rape her. I mean, God knows what he's about to do to her. And out of nowhere, right behind him, you just see wham! And the Duke gets knocked out, and in comes Le Chocolate, grabs Satine, carries her to safety, and I was like, yes! That guy is awesome. As much as I hated this movie, honestly, Baz Luhrmann, if you're watching, he's not watching, if you want to make a sequel to this movie about Le Chocolate and the Argentinian, like, going on a European road trip in 1900, I would seriously watch that movie, okay? These two guys on a road trip in Europe, early 1900s, I would see that movie, okay? Other than those two guys, I feel nobody in this movie is likable, okay? Everybody is, in fact, very, like, some of them are detestable, and some of them are unlikable, and some of them are just completely obnoxious, okay? But those two guys, they were awesome. The third thing that I think I can point to that I really liked about this movie is obviously what the movie's known for. The art department, I feel, they just worked their butts off in this movie. The costumes, the makeup, the sets, all of that, incredible. This is one of those rare movies that I feel you could mute the movie and you could still find enjoyment in it. In fact, given the dialogue and the story being complete crap, I actually think that this movie would be better if you just turned the sound off. Because the movie is like a visual splendor. There's going to be there is something I feel that the cinematographer and the director do, which I think just completely takes the art department and unceremoniously just kicks them in the balls, you know, and while they're down on the ground wincing, they might as well just, you know, take a crap on them while they're there. But number 4, the Roxanne Tango. Again, this is going to go back to the Argentinian guy who sings that. That Roxanne Tango was amazing, you know, and up until then, I hated every song in here. In fact, my wife will tell you, I did not make it through this movie in one sitting. In fact, the moment that Christian started singing the Beatles, I hit pause and I left the room. I was like, I'm done. And I really did not want to finish the movie, but I did. And because of the Roxanne Tango number, I actually am glad that I at least stuck around for that. That to me was an awesome music video. And if you would cut that part of the movie and just make it a music video, that would have been awesome. I would have been very, very happy with that. And the last thing that I can point to that I actually liked about the movie, and this is going to show that sometimes I do have an immature side and that I can be a little bit shallow. Kylie Minogue, who I had developed a huge crush on when I saw her as Cammy in the Street Fighter, Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie. Huge crush on her. She has a little cameo as the only way that I can put it is Tinkerbell's completely slutty sister. And when you have Kylie Minogue as a slutty Tinkerbell, okay, that's a plus for me, okay? So after that, 5 things in a movie that got nominated for Oscars and that has been praised to the moon. 5 things. I can count on one hand how many things about this I liked. The other thing that I want to go to is I felt that this movie was drowning in cliches. Things that I've seen over and over and over again. And every time I saw them, I just wanted to scream at the television set and just be like, I've seen it. Now, just because you've seen something, and just because you've seen something a million times, doesn't mean it's not good. There are cliches that we all love. The problem with the cliches in this movie is they were not done well, and they were also like the worst cliches. They're the cliches that just really piss me off and just eat away at me to the core. First off, from the beginning, we meet Christian's character, played by Ewan McGregor, which, by the way, I'm a huge Ewan McGregor fan, okay? I love Ewan McGregor, and I love him in a lot of other work. I think he was horribly miscast in this movie. He was the character that I just found straight up obnoxious. Couldn't stand him. He was a 9-year-old in a grown man's body because all he is like, if you just believe in love, if you just believe in love, love conquers all. I'm madly in love. I'm married to my wife now for 4 years. Madly in love with her. But there's not that notion of all you need is love. I'm sorry. That is not how reality works, guys. Boys and girls, you do need love. You also need trust. You need understanding. You need so many more things in order for relationships to work. And Christian is pursuing just love and essentially, you're a hot chick, I'm in love with you, which I think he's really just doing the whole 13-year-old, I think I'm in love with you and really I just want to bone you. I really got the sense of that. I really did not ever once buy their romance. And his naivete was something that just ate away at me. And the other thing that led to with his character was, as he's telling the story, he is the tortured poet. The guy who's, oh, my life is a travesty, but I must tell my story. Okay, and then we see the Christian from a year before when he was happy, and now he's the hopeless romantic poet. A, I've seen it before, and B, I've seen it done so much better than this. And thirdly, the hapless romantic, tortured soul poet, I'm so sick of that. I really am. If Moulin Rouge took place today, Christian's character would have been an emo kid, growing his hair out, painting his nails black, and cutting himself, okay? I mean, I really, really just did not buy him as the two flip sides of the coin. I'm dark, and I'm tortured, and oh, I'm bright, and love will conquer all. No, it didn't work, and that to me was the death knell of this movie, because that was what you began with, and that's what you ended with. So you begin with something that did not work, and you ended it with something that did not work. And also, his character is what's driving this movie. So that just didn't work for me. So the whole movie really just falls apart there. The other cliche that we see here is he moves into the part of Paris, which is like the red district. This is where all the sin is, and, don't go in there. You're going to become a sinner. And yet he finds the hooker with the heart of gold. Now, I'm sure there are women out there of ill repute who are wonderful women, okay? I'm not saying that doesn't exist. But in these movies, the guy always finds the hooker with the heart of gold, pretty woman, milk money. Again, this is a cliche we've seen done so many times. And the funny thing is throughout the first 2/3 of this movie, she's the hooker with the heart of gold. In the last third of the movie, She is a horrible human being. She is not a good person. She goes from the cliched hooker with the heart of gold to a harpy that you can't wait until the tuberculosis kills her. By the time we get to like the climax, I was really just please die. Satine, please die, because Christian is going to be so much better off without you. The next cliche that I want to cover that just kills me is love at first sight. The moment Satine drops from the ceiling and Christian sees her, he's not attracted to her, he's in love with her. First off, how the heck can he see her? He is in a ginormous theater, surrounded by men, the lights have all gone off, and she's covered with raining confetti. You can't see crap, dude. Seriously. Secondly, though, then they say, I mean, in that moment, he is in love. He does not even know her name. He does not know anything about her, and yet he's in love. Again, going back to that, you've convinced yourself you're in love with someone when, again, you just want to get with them physically. The heroine. I'm going to go into this because Nicole Kidman got an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for this movie. Okay? Further proof that the Academy can go to hell. Alright? Hitchcock never won an Academy Award for Best Director. And Leonardo DiCaprio has yet to win an Academy Award for Best Actor. And Nicole Kidman got nominated for this movie. So, Academy Award, the Academy Award Association, you can officially just go to hell, as far as I'm concerned, because this was by far not an Oscar-worthy performance. I hear that she was actually being considered for 2 Oscar nominations that year. One for Moulin Rouge, the other one was for The Others. Now, if you haven't seen The Others, see that movie, because that is the movie that Nicole Kidman should definitely have gotten a nomination for. How she didn't get nominated for The Others and instead got nominated for this, I have no idea. So Nicole Kidman, if you're watching, she's not watching, I have nothing against you. I think you are gorgeous. I think you are extremely talented. I've seen you in interviews. You seem like a very sweet person. I just don't think you are good in this movie. It's nothing personal. Again, I'm a fan. I think you're amazing. You are a treasure. Just not this movie. That being said, she's also the heroine in a romantic relationship who she has a job that prevents her from falling in love, which she says to Christian numerous times before they make it official that yes, we're in love. She says, I can't fall in love, Christian. I can't fall in love. She says this to him. He sings one song to her. She emphatically says, I cannot fall in love with you. He gives her a medley of, I think it was the Beatles, Kiss, U2, and Dolly Parton. I'm sure I'm missing a few in there. If I am, please forgive me, because I was totally not engaged in the song anyway. You know, he could have sang nursery rhymes to her, and I would not have noticed. But then after this one song, oh, boom, she's madly in love with him. Okay? Again, it's kind of right up there with that love at first sight, but she's resisting it, and then goes in one song from, I'm not going to fall in love with you, we can't fall in love, to, all right, we're in love, let's go with it. That drove me crazy. The next thing was that the heroine has an exotic name. Okay, what was with the names in this movie? I ended up just having to refer to them as their actor or actress, because I could not tell who the heck was who. Okay, Ewan McGregor is Christian. He is the only character in this movie that really just had a normal name that I could actually remember. But, and then here's another thing. He's Christian and she's Satine. He is the innocent son of, I think he said his father was a preacher, reverend, bishop, something along those lines. And of course, he moves into the Red District and falls in love with a cabaret dancer named Satine. Wow, guys, that's subtle. That is really subtle. Christian and Satine. You might as well have just said, yeah, this is, Jesus and Satan. Okay? I mean, your subtlety was just really that potent. In fact, while you're at it, during Satine's death scene, you should have just had her, lying on a cross or something, because that is more subtle than all the crap you laid on before us. Another thing was that while she's in this romantic relationship with Christian, she is promised to this character played by Richard Roxburgh called the Duke. We're going to get to him in a minute because, man, is that... I could probably do a whole video just on him in this movie. But she's promised to somebody else. This is another cliche that I absolutely, positively hate with a passion, is that romantic movie where somebody is either married or they're in a committed relationship, they're engaged, it's always, on the cusp of them getting married that they meet the person that they really fall in love with. And in this one, granted, she's not on the cusp of getting married. In fact, she hasn't even met the Duke yet, but a business arrangement has essentially been made to where she is now promised to this Duke guy, and that's when she meets Christian. Okay, the whole I'm in a relationship or I'm, committed to somebody else and now I've met the person of my dreams. I hate that cliche. I hate it, hate it, hate it. Okay? If you're in a committed relationship, be in the committed relationship. If you've met somebody that now you're questioning that committed relationship, break it off with that person. Okay? Because if you continue with the committed relationship while exploring the relationship with this other person, I'm sorry, you are a horrible human being. Now, that being said, I understand that they wrote circumstances in this movie that made it to where, she couldn't just walk away. She has to date the Duke because the whole future of the Moulin Rouge rests on her relationship with the Duke. Guess what? That is a plot line that was manufactured just to put her between the Duke and Christian, and it's bull crap. Pure and simple bull crap. Okay? This was a plot device just to show conflict in her of, do I follow my heart and go with Christian, or do I do the intelligent thing? Do I do what's logical and go off with the Duke because he's going to take care of me, he's wealthy, and he'll make my dreams come true? Yeah, that really bugs me, and I absolutely hate that. Another thing that I absolutely hate in regards to her with the Duke is Christian has entered into a relationship with a woman that he knows is a prostitute. And yet, he even tells her, I can't handle the idea of you with another man. Really? This is they established that she is basically the most sought after woman in Paris. And she's a prostitute. That's what she does. We have no idea how many men that she's been with up until then. And she's even told Christian right from the beginning, I've got this Duke guy that I have to kind of get with. So he knows what he's getting himself into with dating a prostitute, and dating a prostitute who is in, I don't want to say committed relationship, but she's in like a kind of a business transaction that she's going to have to get with this guy. And then when the time finally comes for her to seal the deal, as it were, he then tells her, I can't handle the idea of you getting with him. Really? Really? Seriously? Maybe you should have thought of that at that moment when you were looking up at her and being like, I'm in love with this woman who's a prostitute, and every man in this room would kill all of us for one night with her, okay? Think about that kind of stuff when you're doing your whole, love conquers all. Yeah, no, it does not, because if that's what she did, if that's what she did when she met you, you can't just expect her to abruptly change that. Especially when you know that her future and the future of all of her friends depends on her getting with this guy, okay? That is not how it works. Another thing is these were probably three of the things that just killed me more than anything else, was, we're going to get to this guy now, the Duke, okay? I understand Richard Roxburgh looked like he was having a blast playing this Duke guy, and to be fair, he was kind of enjoyable because he was so incredibly over the top. It's like you put a Bond villain and the snooty, know-it-all, evil professor guy in a blender, mix them together, and out pops this Duke guy, okay? I can actually respect that to a certain extent. However, what really, really bugs me about him is that he's a bully just for the sake of being a bully. They give him no motivation for what he's doing. He is just a guy who shows up and is just a complete douche just for the sake of being a douche. He even has this over-the-top moment, and I can't decide if it was funny and enjoyable or if it was just crap. There's this scene where he even says, he goes, "I'm not a jealous man. I just don't like people touching my things." That is the extent of motivation that they give this guy, okay? Is that he is a spoiled little bastard who's used to getting his way. I guess, you know what? Comment below if that is really all there was to his character, because if that's all there is to your villain, that is weak, guys. That is weak, okay? The other thing is, and this is the thing in this movie that really, 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 above everything else, drove me crazy, the wide angle, the wide shots, the wide lens, okay? If you're not familiar with what that is that is when the characters, when you've got a scene and all of a sudden their face is like right here. It's like, oh, welcome to the Moulin Rouge, oh! And the whole time, all you can think of is just like, get away from me. I could literally at one point count all of the moles and warts that Jim Broadbent had on his face. Okay? When I can see your greasy pores on my television set, back to freak off the camera, seriously. Especially in this movie because, like I talked about, the art, the choreography, the costumes, the sets were all amazing, but it's so hard to see that when somebody's face is right up against the lens, okay? I want to see what's going on. There are dancers and there are extras who are probably working their butts off for this movie, and yet we can't see it because Jim Broadbent, John Leguizamo, the Duke, everybody's got their frickin' faces right up against the lenses. And all I can think of is I feel like my personal space was being violated, I did not like it. That being said, I'm going to go over just a few quick little things that I noticed about this movie that I feel bear mentioning. I don't want to harp on them, but I just want to at least mention them. Is they mention when they're going to the Moulin Rouge that this was the place of nighttime pleasures. Zidler has the number about Moulin Rouge where he says, "Here, you'll have fun." Okay, it did look like a very fun party atmosphere. Again, that part of the movie, that was cool, okay? Whenever they were having a party, it was when we got to the love story bullcrap that, I was done with the movie. But they kept showing a couple of creepy clowns in the crowd. In 1899 Paris, France, was there a creepy clown fetish? Because that is so messed up, okay? I mean, here they were, they had the dancers, and everybody was partying and having fun, and then creepy clown. Scared the crap out of me. And again, if you're running a bordello or a a nightclub where I'm supposed to go have fun. Get the creepy clowns out of there, because when you tell me that this is the place of nighttime pleasures where you're going to have fun, I'm interested to know where creepy clown comes into the mix, okay? Okay, so another thing that I really want to address here, it's kind of the same thing as the art direction and the songs, is that the cinematography of this movie was a mess. There were so many times in this movie that I really felt that it was just going to induce a seizure upon me. Again, going back to the use of the wide-angle lens when I'm not able to enjoy the scene now because, you've got people's faces, right up against the camera. And then when you didn't have somebody's face right there, you had the camera moving around so fast that, like, I'm not epileptic. I'm not, I'm a gamer, so I'm used to, like, fast-moving stuff. I love first-person shooters. And even I was like, okay, seriously, this is giving me a headache. I was getting a little bit sick at some points, where the camera was just all over the place. And the other thing was just the editing was so fast. I mean, I really think that there was not a shot that lasted longer than like 3 seconds. You'd be on this character, this character, this character. Here's what's going on over here, 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 here. You just kind of wanted to tell the camera, stop and let me take in a scene. But you didn't get that. Now, I called that out, and Ellen said, this is to convey the feeling that Christians have, where he is overwhelmed by this whole scene. And I guess I kind of can get that's what they're going for, but, like, I never once went for that. I just, my take is just that Baz Luhrmann just thinks that, if I move the camera around so fast, and it's just like he's waterboarding you with this spectacle. And the thing is that he did create a spectacle, but you're not able to really enjoy it, because I just felt like I was being waterboarded left and right with, flashes and colors. Like, I could never piece together what was going on. And that is something that is just constantly going on through the movie, because I have no idea what's going on. I don't know who is where and, where we're at. There were times where they showed the characters, in the club rehearsing, and then they showed them out on the roof or the balcony singing, and then they showed them, on the streets of Paris. But they're cutting these so fast, I have no idea what's going on here. Another thing that I really want to bring up is the accents. Okay, again, Paris, 1899, and yet there was only 2 types of accents I was able to catch, and that was you were either British or you were who the hell knows. Christian did say he moved from London, so it makes sense that he's British. But then you had Zidler is British, you have Satine has a British accent. You have, I think there was like all of the other dancers that at least the ones that had a talking role, are British. Yes, you had the Argentinian, and he's supposed to be from Argentina, so, you have that. But then there are two accents here I really want to focus on, and that is John Leguizamo and Richard Roxburgh. So John Leguizamo plays one of Christian's little friends, and I do mean little, he's a little person, and I have no idea what accent that he was going for. Again, at one point I turned to Ellen and I was like, okay, is he supposed to be French or is he supposed to be special? Special needs, because I mean, the whole time, I can't tell if he's doing an accent or a speech impediment, and it just got to the point now where I just was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to find him amusing or if I'm supposed to kind of feel bad for him, because maybe he's this special needs guy who's caught up in this world and maybe he doesn't even know what's going on. So that being said about him, I want to, the Duke. again, Richard Roxburgh clearly was having fun with this part, and again, I can respect that. The only problem is they clearly established this guy's a Duke. I have no idea where the hell this guy's supposed to be from. I know that the actor's British, but I don't know if he was supposed to be French. I don't know if he was supposed to be German. I mean, there was like a little bit of Italian in there. There's a little bit of Spanish in there. For the most part, he really seemed like a mixture of German and British. But again, I found that so distracting with his character of where are you from? You know, and I think that would have just been solved very quickly if they could have at one point just said he's a Duke from X country. But again, I had no idea what he was going for, and I found that just extremely distracting. Now, going back to the John Leguizamo character, who I want to say his character's name is Toulouse or Toulouse or something like that. So again, he's a little person, might be special. You have their portrayal of gypsies, bohemians. You have their portrayal of Indians or Hindis, because the play that they decide to put on is all about a Maharaja and a sitar player that takes place in India. And it is a play about India starring completely white people and an Argentinian. And between that, the little person, the fact that the black guy's name is Le Chocolate, I just kept asking myself, is this movie racist? Like, seriously, like, it's either racist, at bare minimum, it is stereotypical. You know, because I again, watching that play about India, I was like, I don't know if this is what an actual accurate portrayal of India is, or if that's just what the West's idea of what India is. You know, you saw a lot of Nicole Kidman, you know, doing the and there's this part of like, is this racist? I don't know. Like, it did kind of feel a little uncomfortable, and the fact that John Leguizamo was this little person just running around, half the time you could see his feet sticking out, so the special effects were crappy on that. But again, their portrayal of him, I didn't know how to feel about that. Going to the British side, British actors galore in this. I want to touch on Jim Broadbent's character as Harold Zidler, the owner of the Moulin Rouge. They clearly try to paint him as kind of a father figure for Satine. You know, it is obvious that he kind of does care about her. But again, as I said before, everybody in this film is either an unlikable, obnoxious, or a detestable human being. And I felt that Jim Broadbent's character swayed between unlikable to detestable because he does so many extremely questionable things. Again, considering that they established that, you know, he really likes Satine, he cares for her, and yet she is just a pawn for him in his business dealings. You know, he enters into this business contract with the Duke, and the Duke specifically says, you know, when they're doing the transaction, Zidler wants the Duke to finance turning the Moulin Rouge from a nightclub or a bordello into a theater. And he wants to be a legitimate theater owner. Satine wants to be a legitimate actress. And of course, they need a financier for this. And so they've figured this Duke guy is the way to go. When dealing with the Duke specifically says, you will sign Satine over to me. Like, she's going to be exclusive to me. Essentially, I almost feel like he's buying her. And of course, Zidler has no problem signing, you know, Satine over to him. And on that note, Jim Broadbent, you know, Zidler, is also supposed to be a businessman. So everybody said, oh, he's this lovable businessman. Okay, so I've already touched on the fact he's not lovable. Okay, he's a horrible person. Secondly, businessman. He is a terrible, horrible businessman because, again, he needs money to finance transforming the Moulin Rouge into a movie theater, which I don't get why he needs the Duke to finance this, because everybody in this club is literally throwing money into this club. Disclosure, that is something that I felt the nostalgia critic in his review, he did point that out, and yes, he kind of brought that to my attention, and when I saw it, boy, yeah, he was right. So anyone who's going to say I'm ripping off nostalgia critic, trust me, yes, he made that observation first, so I'm going to give him full credit on that. But it's so true. Everybody's throwing money at him, and yet he still feels like, I need all this money to convert it into a movie theater. But then he gets into business with a guy. He signs the deed over to his club to a man who literally seconds is crumbling up his hat and is yelling, again, like I said before, about how he hates people touching his things, and you will sign Satine over to me, and all of this stuff. You can even see the look of horror on Zidler's face when the Duke is throwing his temper tantrum, and then right as soon as his look of horror is done, he signs the deed over to this guy. Who does that? That would have been the moment where you get up and say, you know what, you're not the right guy for me to do business with. I'm out. We're out. We're going to go find someone else. Someone who's not going to ask that I sign a human being over to you to be your plaything. So I definitely wanted to touch on that. Also touching on Zidler and the Duke, there were lots of moments, especially throughout the second act, where I realized that this movie is actually about a love story between Zidler and the Duke. Because every time, watch the movie, every time you see Zidler and the Duke together, Zidler is so close to the Duke. I'm talking stalker, serial killer, he can smell his hair close. At one point I turned to Ellen and I was like, I would not be surprised if suddenly Zidler just humps the Duke's leg, because he is that close. And then that theory of mine of the love story between them just comes crashing down in droves when they do the Madonna Like a Virgin number. Okay, because that got insane. At one point, and I'm not making this up, Zidler takes I think it's a tablecloth, wraps it around him like it's a bridal veil, and the Duke is playfully chasing him while they're singing Like a Virgin, Touched for the Very First Time. There are so many scenes where it looks like they are nose to nose. It's like they're going to make out, and the Duke is going to realize that he's actually got it for Zidler and not Satine. That was just one of those things that it was just very distracting. Side note, I bought the love story between Zidler and the Duke way more than I bought the love story between Christian and Satine. And as weird as it was between these two very, over-the-top, flamboyant actors in the Duke and in Zidler, I also cared about their romance a lot more. If those two would have gotten together, I think I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more, because I would have been like, man, they went there. They didn't. It was just for playful banter or a waste of our time. And in that, I just did not care for it. So let's wrap this up. Let's get to the end scene. Spoiler alert, Satine dies. Okay, now anyone who's going to get mad at me in the comments, one of the first lines you get in this movie is Christian saying, "The woman I love is dead." Okay, so from the first 10 seconds of the movie, Satine's going to die. Also, they telegraph this throughout the whole movie, how she always has these fainting spells. These fainting spells always occur at the most convenient times for her, where she has to miss something and she doesn't want to go there. What happens? Faints. She's bedridden all throughout the whole time. And it gets to the part where her and Christian are singing to each other. She's broken his heart. She does one of the other cliches that I failed to mention this earlier, that just pissed me off, and that's the misunderstanding. Zidler literally tells her, you have to break Christian's heart to save him, and the whole time I'm thinking, why not just tell him the truth? The Duke is going to have you murdered. You need to get out of here. or we will run away together, or you just run and save yourself. No, she decides to break his heart, and and it's definitely like, she knows that if she tells him the truth, he's not going to leave. Of course he comes back, and he's going to pursue her. So how did that work out for her? But the other scene that really drove me crazy is right before this end thing, Christian does the most horrible thing in the movie. So up until now, Christian has only been obnoxious to me, and in this, he makes the leap into just a despicable human being. He's trying to, again, profess his love to Satine. She's broken his heart, and she just doesn't want to tell him, like, your life is in danger. I'm trying to save your life. And they end up on the stage in front of everybody, and what does Christian do? He slut-shames her in front of everyone. He dumps all of his money out, and he yells, "I've paid my whore, and now she's yours," and he goes to walk away. And all I'm thinking is, what an asshole. This is the hero of our story, and once she breaks his heart, he's going to slut-shame her in front of everybody. I'm sorry, not even the Duke has done this yet in front of everybody, At least his, deeds, he still allows Satine to keep her dignity. In fact, they even show him, he's sitting there with a bouquet of roses next to him, and at this point I'm like, okay, yeah, let him walk. He's an asshole, and just get rid of him. But of course she sings to him, professes her love, the two come together, and then comes the big dramatic moment. She dies in his arms, but this death is like she's dying, but she's going out singing. And this number really goes on for, I swear to you, it's like 5 minutes. And towards the end of it, I'm not finding this heartbreaking. Again, I have zero connection or investment in these characters. And after a 5-minute death scene where, I already know you're going to die, because Christian says that right at the beginning. But now I know, okay, the time has come, it's the death scene. Okay, maybe this is where the movie's going to hit me here. Absolutely not. It's so over the top. And at one point, I seriously say out loud, much to Ellen's dismay, I literally say, okay, would she just die already? I mean, seriously, the Terminator, the Predator, and Jason Voorhees, didn't take this long to die as Satine is. Satine has this really drawn-out death scene. She finally goes, and the funniest part of the movie, I'm going to sound like a complete jerk here, but the impactful moment where Christian does the whole, painful thing. Ewan McGregor's wailing, it didn't sound like a guy who was mourning the loss of his loved one. It literally sounds like somebody dumped a pitcher of ice water down his pants. Because he's like, oh! And here's the big dramatic moment of the movie, and I laughed my ass off. I thought it was freaking hilarious. I was laughing. Ellen is giving me the stinky look of I'm just this horrible human being. I thought it was hilarious. So in the end, Moulin Rouge is a clear example of all style and no substance, okay? To make a comparison to a car, this movie is the Mazda Miata of movies, where it's a cute little, sleek little, little convertible coupe, but it's got nothing else beyond that, This movie looks pretty, okay? This movie has a few interesting characters, but they're all, calling them side characters is even too generous. They're glorified cameos. And, like I said, you have 3 interesting cameos. You have one good dance song number that I actually enjoyed in the whole movie. And you had the look of it. Again, 5 things. Count them on one hand. I guess maybe I'll go 6 if I say, I thought the Duke was actually pretty, amusing. So, that being said, this movie's been praised to the moon, got nominated for numerous Oscars. I found hardly anything of enjoyment here. Again, all style, no substance. And with that being said, I give Moulin Rouge a D minus. Okay, nominated for Best Picture. I looked it up. I do think that that got a nomination because 2001 was a pretty lackluster year as far as Oscar-nominated movies go. Thank goodness A Beautiful Mind beat it. Okay, you know, but again, I don't get the hype of this movie. I don't understand why it's so beloved. Keep in mind, I myself will acknowledge I don't think I am the target audience of this. And to make another analogy here, I really think that Moulin Rouge, with its style and its lack of substance, is, to me, it was the equivalent of eating a tofu. You know, you're maybe at the end of the meal you're full, but you're not satisfied. And again, that was just my take. So, you know what? I await your comments. Comment below. Tell me where I'm wrong. If you're the type of person who actually does not like Moulin Rouge and doesn't get the hype, comment below and, you know, tell me where I'm wrong. I would love to have a debate with you, you know, if we keep it fun, we keep it informative and friendly. Hey, I will make comments to you as well. And again, I acknowledge I'm probably not the target audience for this. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.